talking the guy in the black hat.
Hey, fella! You in the hat! The lady down the end wants to see you.
What does she want?
What does she want?
What do you want?
Tell me.
Cut. If you've ever seen that film, Crocodile and Dundee, film from the 80s, you'll know there's a very simple answer to that question. The lady in the red dress loves the man in the black hat and she wants to be with him. That's it. But something in the way that guy in the red, big guy in the red bandana asked that question, what do you want, has kind of stuck with me over the years. It's a bit of a challenge, a sort of deeper challenge. What do you want? And thinking about myself and people I know as well, we don't always know what we do want. I mean, we know things we quite like doing, but sometimes nothing seems of burning importance. It's a bit kind of meh. And we know what we don't want, but that's not quite the same as knowing what you do want. It's possible to just drift through life a bit comfortably or uncomfortably if you just know what you don't want. And certainly some of the volunteer work I do with people who are very depressed, sometimes suicidal, one of the big reasons for that is that they don't know what they want in life. They haven't got a purpose or a direction. So these things, purpose, direction, what do we want, they're all names for one thing, I think, which is values. Being in touch with our values and knowing what our values are. And that's what I'd like to talk about today, because what I'd like at the end of this speech for you is to be encouraged to look at your values, or if you know them already, to re-examine them. Because I think they can change during life, and it's important to re-examine them. In the past, I've gone to a lot of inspirational talks, gone on workshops, read inspirational books, and have they inspired me to do anything different or to change? Not so much. And why is that? It's because they start from the assumption that I know what I want, and all they have to do is motivate me to do those things. But what if I don't know what I want? Well, then the natural question is, how do we find out what we want? And there's one easy answer to that, and the answer is, you just wait. You just wait to the next life crisis, big one, and then you'll re-examine things and you'll get to know what you want. And certainly that happened to me in 2009 when my wife passed away. She'd been diagnosed with cancer 5 years before that, and she'd had various treatments, surgery, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, medication, but in the end it hadn't worked, and 5 years later she passed away. And there I was, I'd been her main carer for those 5 years. We were somewhat isolated in the back of Beyond in Kent, because that's the way she wanted to deal with her illness. And when she passed away, there I was, a bit isolated, or very isolated, in the back of Beyond. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I thought, well, I want life to be better. And eventually, I didn't really sit down in any structured way. I didn't think about my values or apply any process. I just thought, well, what do people do when they're isolated? Well, they connect with other people. So I did some things, if you can just put that. I reconnected with my family and friends. I've become disconnected over those years. Formed a band. Yeah, I put up some posters in the local uni, and some students answered them. I bought a drum kit. We formed a band. I signed up for a philosophy MA. Now, I could have gone for an MBA, but as it happened, the philosophy interested me, so I did that. I sold my posh cars. I never was really very materialistic, but we had some posh cars. I got shot of them and bought myself a white transit van, which I sort of mischievously liked driving around. Middle-class man driving a white van. Driving a white van, yes, that appealed to the rebel in me. And I studied religion. I'd been brought up in a particular Christian faith. I'd always kind of dismissed it in the past, but I thought, no, I'm going to look at this. I went on a thing called the Alpha course. A lot of churches do that, and studied religion. And a few years later, I kind of sat down and thought, when I was thinking about values, and I thought, well, actually, what I've done is without knowing it, I've kind of discovered my values, which are, here are 5 of them, I've got a lot, as do we all, but here are 5 key ones, which is like connection, joining family and friends and linking back up with my bandmates from school and also bandmates down the road. Creativity, that's the band as well. Curiosity, studying religion, philosophy MA. Simplicity, getting a shot of those posh cars. I'm not really materialistic. And spirituality. Those are 5 of my key values. So, okay, you can wait until the next life crisis. That's probably not the most efficient and nice way to do it. Is there another way? Fortunately, yes, there is. You can apply a slightly more structured process, and I'll mention a couple in a moment. But however we do it, what I've certainly found as a prerequisite is get into the right state. So get into a sort of calm, meditative state, because values, they're not just mental things in your head, they have an emotional feel as well. So say curiosity, yes, it can be an intellectual thing, but to me it's got a feeling to it as well, a feeling of kind of excitement and adventure. So when examining values, what I've found is it's best to get into a sort of calm, meditative state where you're in touch with your emotions as well. So that might mean some deep breathing, it might mean yoga, tai chi, anything that helps you center yourself. Go to a place that itself encourages you. For me, strangely, it's, as you may know, Pret-a-Manger in Aldgate. There's just something I'm not kidding. It's something about the music they play and the vibe of the people around, just quietly tippy-tapping away on their computers. If I sit there to breathe calmly, I'm in that kind of zone where I can look at my values. And as I mentioned, there's several ways to do that. One way, when you're in that calm, grounded state, you can look forward, which is what Dr. Stephen Covey, in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, suggests we do. He actually suggests we look right forward to our own funerals. And we imagine the things that our family, our friends, our work colleagues, people in our communities, what we would like them to be saying about us at our own funerals. And from there we can derive our values. Now I prefer, I'm a bit of a scientist, rather than looking forward and imagining, I prefer to look back and see what actually have I done, because that's evidence. Yeah. So I did an exercise of that. I don't know if you can read it from the back. It doesn't matter if you can't. Basically what I did was went back to when I was age 10, because that's when many experts say that's the sort of age our core values start crystallizing. After that we do test them, but our main core values are there at this age 10. And I thought, what sort of things did I really love doing? What sort of things did my mum have to badger me to come in for dinner and stop doing in order to have dinner? And it was things like playing with Lego, it was things like looking through my microscope, it was things like being in the school choir, singing, all those things. They're the things all around the edge. And then I thought, well, what underlies, in my calm meditative state, what underlies all those things? And it was things like curiosity and creativity. Independence, which are things that we saw in the previous slide when I sat down in 2009. But also what came out of that was independence and being the best. Now, being independent came out because a lot of those things that you saw on that previous slide are kind of me doing things by myself, looking through the microscope and such. And okay, they're great values. Being independent is a good value to have. Wanting to be the best is a good thing, but you can push those things too far. And one thing I've learned is that it's important to have a balance amongst your values, because when I was a little bit older, when I went to secondary school, I did push those values a little bit away too far. Independence and being the best, that was turned into a sort of a drive for me, a sort of demand on myself. And I did take myself up into my room, study, or I was at school, study, and I became a little bit one-dimensional. And that is still a risk for me. I can push that independence and wanting to be the best a bit too far. But I'm aware of it because I've looked at my values. So wrapping it all up, what have I learned? I've learned it's important to be aware of our values. And so it's important for me to be aware of my values, because if I'm not, I may just tend to take on the values of someone else. That's what happened in the past with my wife. I'll tell you more.